Hello, people. I am back, and today it's your lucky day. I'm definitely feeling generous today, and I want to give you a sneak peek of my course as it pertains to evaluating for business credit cards, specifically credit card-based lending. So we've all heard about business credit card stacking. It's a very popular way for small business owners, especially startup, to get their hands on some capital, 50, 100,000. You've seen the commercials on Facebook, Instagram, 250,000, 500,000, and 0% credit card. You've seen it. Now, how do you determine exactly what you qualify for? And today I'm going to show you a video here that I'm actually doing a live evaluation, live here, so you can see exactly what is done and how you're supposed to pre-qualify a client for credit-based funding based on the 4 factors. You've heard me talk about the 4 factors that it takes in order for somebody to qualify for credit-based lending. If you have not checked that video, you're going to actually see me do the job. You're going to actually see me perform and actually evaluate this file. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This is a sneak peek of the course. If you're interested in my full course, of course, link in the description. But on this video, let's go ahead and take a look at this, how I'm actually evaluating the client's file. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to it. Let's go ahead and be about it. So we're going to dive right in and talk about evaluating client's file. We've talked about it. There's no reason to talk about it anymore. We're going to talk about actually doing it. Okay. So anyway, we're going to do 3 evaluations on the screen. An evaluation, of course, utilizing our CCP. The CCP is the client credit profile. That's going to allow you to evaluate the client's credit report. It's also going to allow you to evaluate the client's income. So let me just do a really brief, rough, fast, jog your memory on this thing. We got a credit report eval, which is the first tab right here. As you can see, I'm going over it right on this section, okay? Then we have the bank statement eval on this section. This is how we evaluate the bank statements. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. And then we have our recap report. A recap report is used when the client is ready to be submitted. This is what we use when we're talking about preparing the file for processing, okay? And then we got our application submitted and apps page. And we use that to communicate with the client as to what applications were submitted, and also to make sure that we keep an ongoing log as to what applications we've submitted. So this walks you through the, and this is just funny. I keep bringing this up, but hopefully you guys are loving the structure of this. You get the understanding of 3 packs of lending. You get the 3 packs lending to develop this initial call and how you walk through the conversation with your client. And then now, in addition to that, we have to, the 3 packs of lending has also influenced how we evaluate the client's file. We evaluate based on either the credit-based, the income-based, and the asset-based. And this sheet grows with us during the process. As you can see, the first tab is we start with the credit evaluation tab, and then we go ahead and start with the revenue tab. The asset tab, we actually evaluate the value of the asset. So there is no analysis that's done on this specific sheet. And then after all of that is done, then we do the recap report. A recap report is literally this page, has the business information, personal information of the client. We send this to the borrower so they can confirm that this information is accurate. We do a compliance call, and then after the compliance call, we start submitting. After we start submitting, we start logging the application we submitted on the application page on here. I'm going way too fast. Let me slow this thing down, rewind. Let's get back to the evaluation page. So on this training, I'm gonna tell you exactly how to utilize this page. This first section is for open revolving accounts. And one of the things that I want to put on your screen before we actually get this thing started is, if you recall, there's 4 factors we evaluate when we're talking about evaluating the client's credit report. There's 4 factors we evaluate when we're talking about evaluating the client's income for revenue-based funding. And then there's also 4 things that are evaluated when we're talking about evaluating for asset-based funding. So let's get those on your screen before we get this evaluation thing ongoing. So there's 4 factors, as you can see there. What are we going to be evaluating? We're going to be evaluating how many negative items the client has on their file, which is the first factor. We're going to be evaluating the utilization. And then we're also going to be evaluating the age of the client's credit profile. And then lastly, we're going to be evaluating the client's inquiries. This first section right here is for open revolving accounts. This second section right here is for inquiries. This section right here is for negative items. This section right here is for closed revolving accounts. And then this last section right on the bottom is open non-revolving accounts. So this is how you're going to be working this. So you open the credit report. Of course, I'm not going to show you the first page, but you review the summary to make sure that everything looks good. And then you quickly jump into the credit score section. So I'm going to come in and I'm gonna put in this client's credit score. TransUnion is 7. No, actually Experian. Experian is 707. I'm gonna go down to Equifax. Equifax is 680. Then we're gonna do the TransUnion score, which is 720, okay? And I'm gonna just scroll this thing down. I try to highlight all the key main things. I usually highlight the summary, and then I also highlight all the negative items that's on the client's credit report. We call it yellow pits. Okay, so anything that's yellow is something that we need to focus on. So any negative items are also yellow. That's why we call them PP, pits. So this is a summary of the client, and I just quickly go over this, and what am I looking for? I'm looking for the 4 factors. As I'm scrolling this report, I'm just literally looking for this. These are in my mind: negative items, utilization, agent file, and inquiries. That's what I'm thinking about constantly. Proceed on with this. I have a revolving account here. This is the Home Depot. It's an open revolving account. I know that it's open by looking at the status. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly list it on here. So I'm gonna say Home Depot. How do I know it's Home Depot? I've looked at this credit report so many times. THD stands for the Home Depot, okay? You can just put on there THD. The date was opened. I looked at the date open. It's open on November 13th of 2002. That's based on the information on TransUnion. As you can see on Experian and Equifax, it says November 1st. So I can go by either or date. It really doesn't matter. It's not so critical. High past balance on this specific account. High past balance is also considered high limit. What is high past balance? That is the highest balance that account has ever had in the past. A critical, important measuring tool, whatever the hell you want to call it, because if you're seeking financing, if I walked into your bank and I was asking for $100,000 in unsecured credit, would you not be curious as to what my past unsecured credit history looks like? What have I been able to handle in the past to help you kind of make your decision? That's why we track the high past balance. So the highest past balance or the high credit is on this specific one, and it's not the limit. The high credit or high past balance, it is not the same as the limit. The limit is the maximum you can go on that specific account. High past balance is the maximum balance you've ever had on that specific account. There's some key differences there that you need to understand. High past balance on this specific account is $1,430. Okay, the balance on this specific account is $0 at this time. The limit on it is $3,000. As you can see, the calculation happens for you automatically. It will go ahead and do the calculation, everything that you need to know. The responsibility of this specific account is individual responsibility. Okay, we go ahead and keep this thing moving. Nothing to highlight, nothing to worry about there. The next one we got here is credit one. Can't type all of a sudden. And then the opening date on this specific one is 6/1/2022. The high past balance is 568. The balance on this is 464. The limit on this is 1,200. I go ahead and I check the responsibility. The responsibility is individual responsibility. You're going to get to that point where you're also just going to be doing this as fast as I am. Your eyes are just going to know exactly where you need to go each time. You need to be getting through with your eval within 30 minutes. That's usually the ideal time for you to get through your evals. Olo Ali. And another thing that I try to do, you need to understand how to do the evals, but eventually you don't need to be doing your evals. You need to be hiring somebody so that somebody can do these evals for you, because you need to be not wasting time doing evals. Majority of your time needs to be spent building rapport, communicating with clients, networking, and getting your business out there. The number one reason why most businesses fail is because people do not know that they're in business. Okay, if you offer a great service, well, people have to be able to find you. Okay, and if nobody can be able to find you, then you're gonna fail. That's just the way it is. So I say this to let you know that I want you to initially, probably for the first 3 months, you need to be doing your own evaluations. You just must. You must understand how this information works, how this information is gathered. For you to be able to even actually train somebody on how to do this, you need to do this yourself. And it's really simple. I mean, this is some data entry stuff right here. You know, a 3-year-old can do this. But the main reason why I say that you don't need to be doing this every single day, because this is a waste of your time. And delegation is key for you to be successful in this business. You have to learn how to delegate. And a lot of people look at delegation as maybe you're being lazy. It's gonna take me 30 minutes to do an eval. I can pay somebody and have somebody on the clock for like $3 or $5 an hour. And again, utilizing the tools and tricks that I teach you on how to hire a personal assistant. So when I spend that $5 and have an assistant do it for me, I am not just paying somebody to do something that I don't want to do, but I'm literally buying an hour of my time for $5. How cheap is that? Okay, come on. You're better than that. Capital One, we're gonna go ahead, debt opened 2022, high past the balance. So buy back your time as cheap as possible. Responsibility is important. We have to note down and exactly know the type of responsibility this is. And this, the reason why I emphasize on this a lot, it came a time where a lot of people were just getting a bunch of authorized user accounts and having their credit supported by authorized user accounts and authorized user accounts alone. FICO and the company and also the 3 credit bureaus and also the lenders understood what people were trying to do by tricking the system, tricking the algorithm. So FICO actually came up with a new algorithm, a new credit score that knocks out the authorized user accounts. If they see that a credit profile is heavily supported by authorized user accounts, it removes them completely off the calculation. So you do not want to have a file that is heavily supported by authorized user accounts. Matter of fact, I'm a believer in people need to focus on building their credit organically. You should not be focused on putting a very expensive Band-Aid, because that's what the authorized users are. When people are selling these authorized users, they're literally just an expensive Band-Aid. Instead of you spending $1,500, $2,000 for authorized user, get a $2,000 secured credit card. So we got an authorized user account right here. High pass balance on this authorized user is $43.20. We got a balance here of $0. We got a limit of $5,000, okay? And we're gonna go ahead and mark this as an authorized user. And what I always do once I have an authorized user is to help me better analyze this, I'm gonna mark it in purple. So I know everything else. Calculate individual responsibility, which is awesome. We're like responsible borrowers. Right now we have a GM Auto loan. Now, this is not a revolving account. It is not a closed revolving account, but it is an open non-revolving account. It's an auto loan. So GM Financial is going to go down to this bottom section here, auto loan. The balance on this thing we got is $7,627. We got a payment on this thing that he makes $440. There's nothing on the notes that I need to know about. Responsibility is individual responsibility, the date this thing was opened. This is a closed revolving account. There's a section for closed revolving accounts. So this is a negative item. So I'm gonna go ahead and it's listed on all 3 credit bureaus. So it's a what? It's a collection charge off OneMain. So I'm gonna list that right there. And I'm gonna make sure I copy and paste. All 3 credit bureaus need to go ahead and have this thing on there. And as you can see, I went ahead and highlighted it, which is critically important. We're gonna keep this thing moving as we always do. That's how we gather those 4 factors. As you can see, I know exactly how many negative items that they have on this client's credit report. I know now what the utilization percentage is. This client is currently 4% utilized based on what we have on here. As you can see, our spreadsheet does all the calculations for you, so you don't have to worry about any of that, which is nice and simple. I know how many authorized user accounts they have. I know how many negative items they have. This sheet right here, that's why we call it the client credit profile. It tells you everything you need to know about the client as it pertains to their credit report and also their deposits. So that's pretty much how you get that done. If you have any questions, of course, do let me know. Submit your request. If you want one-on-one with your own personal coach that can go over this evaluation process with you much more in detail, we can absolutely do so. If not, that is pretty much it when it comes to this evaluation. Now we're gonna knock off another one real quick. We're gonna do a training eval number 2. And for the sake of saving time, we're just going to do 2 evaluations. And then after we do 2 evaluations, I'm gonna show you how to determine what the client qualifies for. And so we don't waste time on this. So anyway, moving forward, the client's credit score. So we go ahead and input the credit score on here, which the credit score that we have is Experian is 750. And then we have Equifax at 760. And we have TransUnion at 759. Try to make sure you get evals done within 30 minutes. Critically important, okay? We got, as you can see, I'm highlighting all the summary, which kind of tells me, gives you a nice idea as to what I'm going to be looking at on this credit report. And then I just quickly jump in and start doing my evaluation here. The first thing that I run into here first is this mortgage. I go to my right section. It is an open account. It's a joint account. So I go to the open non-revolving accounts and I go right here and I click mortgage. My balance on this mortgage for $418,568. My payment on this mortgage, it's going to be $2,445. There's no notes on this mortgage. My responsibility is joint. First one looks good. Knock that out. Okay, we just keep this thing moving. We keep it nice and clean, and hopefully you're following where I'm getting this information from. It's critically important that you understand where we're getting this information from, okay? And then we're gonna focus on all the inquiries within the last 6 months. That is pretty much it. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and end here, but on the next video, we're gonna calculate exactly how do we determine what the client qualifies for. I have a formula that I created to make it really simple for you to actually determine exactly what the client qualifies for. So we're gonna do that on the next video. And then after we do that, we're gonna be evaluating revenue-based funding. We're not gonna do any projections at this time. We're gonna figure out and determine what the client qualifies for on the next video. So I appreciate you for watching that video. As you can see, we've done a real thorough evaluation, but we're not done yet. In order for me to give y'all my secret sauce, my formula on how to actually determine the actual numbers somebody qualifies for based on the 4 factors, because you've seen the CCP. Okay, we don't offer that CCP. Unfortunately, I can't give you that for free. You gotta be part of my students in order for you to get that CCP, that powerful spreadsheet that I created. In addition to that, there is a formula that I created using some of those factors that we've taken into account on that evaluation to determine what somebody qualifies for business credit cards. So again, I'm trying to take a moment here to kind of show you guys the inner workings of the course and exactly how we work, the systems that we have in place in order for us to execute on a daily basis. Because one thing that I always say I hate, I do not like brokers that work like used car salesmen. They just send everything out there and hopefully something sticks. We try to be very strategic with the way we approach our clients' files. And that's why the reason we've been successful for so many years. So again, appreciate you for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.